This is the Living Large Theater Podcast. Billy Santiago, Gary Rodriguez, and super producer Noe Ayala. Admission is totally free into the theater. All you need is a sense of humor and a thirst for entertainment. We're at White Sands Marina in Port Isabel. We are having a blast. I'm telling you, White Sands Marina, our sponsor of the Living Large Theater Podcast. Book your room for the summer right now at WSNN Suites. We also want to thank Ward Thomas, Majestic Produce, Mart Fanich Media, Fred Rodriguez, the Texas Sportsman. And we have to say hello once again to our friend who is not going to be on the air with us, but she's still here hanging out with us, Jeanette Grider, president of the South Padre Island Chamber of Commerce. We had a blast with her earlier. With us right now is Fabriel Cisneros, and Fabriel is a local Mason, but he's much more than a Mason, if that's possible. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm telling you, he's also one of the leaders of the Knights Templar arm of the Masons here in the Rio Grande Valley. Fabriel, thanks for joining us today.
No, thank you, Brother Gary, and for having me here, Noe Extraordinary.
Yes, sir.
And glad to meet Jeanette here from the Chambers.
Yeah.
And our rowdy fans over there, ladies, are still here.
We can't shut them up.
No, they don't. They're loud.
Welcome, ladies. Thank you for being part of the podcast today. Thank you. Yes. Hey, what are y'all having? Ranch waters. Okay. Nice. Ranch water.
What's in that ranch water?
That is awesome.
There's no ranches close nearby here. We're in the water, man.
Let me start out with this. If you ever see a Mason, more than likely he's just a normal guy. Masons are not some indescript, cultish kind of individuals. They come from all walks of life. I think 16 of the U.S. presidents have been Masons. Santa Anna was a Mason. Sam Houston was a Mason. I believe Davy Crockett was a Mason. And Fabriel, tell us a little bit history of Masonic life in America.
Well, let me do something better. Let me tell you about the history here of South Texas and Masonry.
Yeah, please do.
You know, Masonry has been in South Texas since early 1840s. Here, literally, the first organization of Masonry here in the state was here, and actually around White Sands. There was an actual lodge established by Zachary Taylor's army. And
hold on, Sparky. Zachary Taylor, the president, or the general.
The general who became president.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's before the Mexican-American War.
Mm-hmm.
And from here, they went over to Brownsville to establish Rio Grande Lodge 81. Point Isabel Lodge was established actually back in early 1840s when Zachary Taylor's army was here.
Now, you're a past master at 81, right?
Yes.
Past master.
Proud of that, yeah.
What does past master mean?
A past master basically just says I was the president for a year.
Okay.
You know, and I was responsible for the lodge. The difference between those lodges, other lodges, and ours at 81 is that we meet at a historical 1882 building.
Yeah.
Original Cameron County Courthouse.
I took my tour of that building recently. I took my son Tiger there.
Yes, great man.
I had never been at that lodge before. What a beautiful, beautiful building. And the history of it is something that you need to tell us about.
It's very historical building. A lot of, like Gary said earlier, like he mentioned all these presidents. Basically, we are ordinary men who do extraordinary things in the community.
I'm going to steal that
in the community.
From you.
And we're fortunate to have in our actual lodge here in Brownsville, which I already told some of the elected officials that there's no public building named after Edmund J. Davis, who was the governor of Texas in 1870-something. And he's from Brownsville. And he
was governor of Texas.
Governor of Texas.
And he was from Lodge 81.
81, Brownsville. And
what does that mean to you?
I'm fortunate. It's huge shoes to fill, you know, and we gotta have that high professional integrity in our lodge
Wow.
and in the community. Because those men, Red Fro, Gregor, and Stephen Powers back then, Oscar Dancy,
What was that guy? WW's Wilson or
Nelson, William N. Nelson. We have Arturo Cisneros Nelson. We have great men in that building. We
Yeah.
currently have 4 judges who are part of our lodge, active judges, and numerous attorneys. What they do for the community without any recognition, that's amazing. And
Who was that guy
serve,
when
they
I
serve
took
the
the-
community, the boards and state stuff.
I took a tour with you. There was a frame picture of an Hispanic gentleman, very distinguished. Wasn't Seguin, but
No, Ayala.
Probably.
who was that
Gray
guy?
hair, no, tienes gray hair. That was
Izaguirre.
Jose Maria de Jesus Carvajal.
Carvajal, that's right.
He
yeah.
was Secretary of the State for the Republic of the Rio Grande at one point. And then that's the one that just lasted like 10 months. 10 months. And then a lot of people don't realize that Republic of the Rio Grande was started again. And they wanted him to be president, but he said, I won't take presidency if I'm not also the commander-in-chief, which he took both of them. And he's one of our founders.
Carvajal.
He's one of our founders of our lodge, and he will get into it. Like, he went to war with, Santa Anna and other generals, and
Yeah.
and it's just.
But he was Hispanic, but he was fighting for us.
He was born in Victoria, Texas. Victoria, Texas. That's where he was born.
Yeah. And then he made his way down here.
At that time, it was
Slumming.
Mexico. It was Mexico, so yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
See, and the thing that I didn't get to show you, brother, that when you were there at the lodge and the tour, I literally forgot. We ran out of time. Basically, we have documents since like when the United States published the actual articles, the Bill of Rights and the rules for the country.
Yeah.
That literally when they sent them out. And we have documentation, newspaper clippings when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated from that day when it was first, from that city and state.
You have him at Lodge 81.
They're locked up in the vault somewhere.
Wow.
They're
Wow.
locked up in the vault somewhere.
I'm asked often, how do I become a Mason? What's the protocol for becoming a Mason? Because I know we don't recruit. We will never ask you to be a Mason. So how does somebody become a Mason?
They get to become, those are the curious people that want to decide, yes, they want to be a Mason. What is it about? The first thing they got to do, they got to ask someone who is a Mason.
To be one, ask one.
Yes, and literally that's the actual doorway. Or they approach us, right? They go to our lodge, call us, email us somewhere, and they're asking, how can I become a Mason? And that's it. We got to go out there to the community, do community events, fundraisers, and it attracts people, the right type of men to do something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
It's not about us. It's not about being elected official. Even though we do have elected officials in our fraternity, it's about the spirit. It's about the heart, And men are attracted to that spirit of Freemasonry
And service.
because it's already in them. It's already engraved in them spiritually or in their
They
heart
just need
and
an
mind.
outlet for it, and that's Masonry.
Yes, and I'll give you a bunch of names right now here locally, and they're not Masons, but they act like Masons, because they're not looking for recognition. They use their vocational platform or elected platform to help the lives around them.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of Freemasonry. We're here to enrich the lives around us, not just in our family, with our friends, or at work. We look at the whole world in general.
Yeah. Now, in addition to fantastic teeth programs, scholarship events to raise money for scholarships, Masons have been involved with a very important ceremony for at least 300 years. It's called the leveling of a cornerstone. Can you tell us about the ceremony of a leveling of a cornerstone, what it is and what it means.
The leveling of a cornerstone, like today, there was one in upstate, and I can't recall the actual city though. But think of it as a special blessing, a non-denominational blessing to the building, the public building, and that should be a representation. Remind the people that are going to be in that building how they're going to be so-called utilize that building to improve their lives and to stay at a high professional integrity type of mindset. When they're that building, it's that building, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And there's different Masonic symbols that are used, items, logos, symbols, and a special prayer happens. It's open to the public. The only thing that needs to happen is wherever, like for example, if Port Isabel has one here locally, it's a public building. The city commission, the mayors, they have to approve it, and then it goes to us, to our grandmaster, to say, okay, we're gonna have it, and then we organize that day and time where we're gonna have a cornerstone ceremony at that public building. What happens also, they have a time capsule, and everybody's invited to put in whatever, coin, money, business cards.
Yeah.
The last time we had a cornerstone ceremony here was at the museum, Port of Brownsville Museum.
Okay.
And at one point they had literally a lodge room established in there in the top floor.
Wow.
With a lot of Masonic men frames as well, in the picture frames. And it explained the history of Freemasonry here in the Valley, and of course worldwide.
I heard, I don't know, maybe you can verify this, but somebody said that you once took parts of a tree and had them molded the wood into gavels.
Yes, I in our lodge area, right? So property, there's a controversial tree, I guess. And what I did, there was a storm and it broke it in half. And it's a old, over 200-year-old tree.
Wow.
So what I did, I got a big chunk of that tree, and I helped. I sent those pieces of trunk of the tree upstate to a brother who created 3 Masonic gavels for us, as a reminder of our not history of what the tree was used for, but as a remembrance of how long we've been around here in the Valley, South Texas. That's why, and we're better than that,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for what the tree was used for back then.
Well, you showed me the gavel when I took the tour, and you've preserved it pretty well, given that it's been beaten quite a bit.
Yes. Like I said, it's over 200 years. It was from a tree that's over 200 years old. We'll still have half of that tree. We never pulled it out, and there's still roots coming out. The tree is still growing.
Yeah.
From the bottom up now.
Wow.
So I'm like, we might as well just keep it as a reminder.
So did you beat anybody with that?
No.
So,
Can you tell us about? I know there's not a lot that can be said. And who can be a Mason and who can't be a Mason?
Well,
Billy Santiago.
on that,
Miss you, Billy.
yeah, man. I was expecting to see the man.
Yeah, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yes.
The voice.
Most lucky. Now, who can be a Mason? As long as you don't have a felony, you can't be an atheist. We don't accept atheist people. And you gotta believe in God. There's 3 main requirements. Besides being a proper man because we do. They say that don't judge a book by its cover. We do not only judge a book by its cover, but also internally. We do. That's just because we want high quality men in our fraternity.
Yeah.
So they gotta believe in God and in a God, believe in holy scriptures, believe in the afterlife, but be good men. As they hang out with us, we're already studying the person, the
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
We're studying the man because it's a man fraternity. Okay? And
But every lodge has a Bible in it, right?
there's a Bible, but we also respect other religions.
Okay.
You know, because throughout the ceremonies, they didn't have the Quran or the Torah. You know, we'll allow that. You know, I'm Catholic, so I used the St. Joseph Catholic book when I was raised.
Yeah.
It was, and we respect it.
So what if somebody's a Knights of Columbus? Can he still join?
There's no reason they can't join us.
Okay.
You know, I know from our lodge, we've had 2 people, withdraw from that Knights of Columbus and then join us. But that's on them. That was their decision.
But there's no longer any friction.
No, because there's actual brothers right now currently that are Knights of Columbus upstate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And usually when you see that friction, it's from ignorant people of authority who have not done their study and they just believe whoever they want to believe.
Yeah.
And keep on spreading the bad message, or not necessarily the message, but false information.
So you heard all those false informations, right? I'm not sure what they are, but you've heard them all throughout the...
Oh, we've heard them all.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
See, and it's sad.
What's one of them that really...
Oh my goodness! Which one of them? I can give you 100 of them.
One of them that irks me is that when they use my faith against me, my own Catholic, faith people, and you're not supposed to. But I'm like, no, it's
It's a fraternity.
There's famous Catholic authorities who support us, but they don't pay attention to the other people, and that's the thing how we should, in my opinion, should look at it. Just don't pay attention to them.
Yeah.
Why are you going to keep on throwing so-called fire to someone?
Because they have an
who's being
agenda.
ignorant?
They have an agenda.
And
Let's
that's-
talk about some famous Masons. Dave Thomas, Wendy's Hamburgers. He was a Mason. Michael Richards, guy that plays Kramer on Seinfeld.
Yes.
He's a Mason. 16 U.S. presidents have been Masons. I don't think you're going to ascend to the presidency if you're a part of something evil, sinister, or bad.
No. Locally, we've had, the Valley has been very fortunate to have people of respect in their areas, and one person that comes to mind was, which the family is there in Brownsville right now as an elected official. They have the great granddaughter right now as a judge, is a KYCH family. And one of their ancestors, members, is part of our lodge. And like I told you, he was a movie producer, director of Columbo and all those type of movies. And it's amazing to have those type of people, again, ordinary men who did extraordinary things with their vocation, with their divine purpose, with the divine inspiration that they had. They utilized it to the max, in my opinion. And that's who we are. We're not, we don't do nothing small.
Well, along with some of the famous state people, the Cowans of Brownsville were pretty involved in Masonry as well, right?
Yes, there's a long line of members in that family. Right now, we have currently a former, they call him Mr. Brownsville, and he's with us, and he's a former current port commissioner. But we know about the mayor being, his family, his ancestors, and it's a rich history that they have, and it's like a who's who of people for us.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to say it without sounding that it's bragging and stuff like that. Like one of the posters that you saw at the dining room area of the Rio Grande Valley of who's who of people, and a bunch of them are from the lodge.
Yeah.
And even the ladies, the wives, daughters of those members, they have schools named after them.
Yeah.
The last BISD campus right now that I'm aware of here in the Rio Grande Valley that's named after a brother is a Champions Elementary School in Brownsville.
Yeah.
And he was a member of our lodge.
Sam Houston was a Mason. Stephen F. Austin. See who? George Hancock. A lot of Texans have been Masons, served the state proudly and in a dignified way that made a difference in the quality of life that we enjoy right now.
Successful business people as well.
Yeah.
Successful people that have been instrumental in their agricultural life here in the valley. A great example is our past Grand Master, Mike Gower II.
Mike Gower.
With his onions.
Yeah, he was there when I was raised.
Yes. And I, whenever I have a chance, I tell him that I used to go to his plantation and get myself a bunch of huge onions.
Hope you paid for them.
They were,
They were just there.
Yeah, they were there on the floor. He was practicing brotherly relief there, one of the tenants.
That is awesome. So if I'm at Walmart and I'm not a Mason and I see you at Walmart and I see you're wearing maybe some Masonic insignia and I want to be a Mason, what do? I tap you on the shoulder and say, what happens next?
Yeah, ask me when we meet. What's the closest thing, lodge? I have to, if they come to me, since I'm the secretary of my lodge, Mother Lodge, I tell them, okay, where you're from, where you live currently. Because if they live in Harlingen or another county, I got to direct them in that area.
Yeah.
But if they live in Port Isabel, Los Fresnos, I know in Port Isabel we do have a lodge. One of the oldest lodges here in the state is Point Isabel Lodge 33, which meet a couple of blocks away from here. And they only meet fourth Thursday of each month.
Okay.
So that's part of the information I got to feed them. And they got to start attending those lodges. And it will take around 6 months or longer to whoever can vouch for that person. Because at the same time, they go to our
So they'll do
meetings.
a cursory investigation on their background.
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to, again, because we don't accept people, and there's a process. And the Grand Lodge of Texas gives us a guide to use.
Yeah.
And we'll start looking at their social media records on Google, in the county where they're from. We got to really make sure that we are accepting the right man into our fraternity.
All right.
Because the last thing we want to do is then having to, clean house.
Yeah.
And that takes a process.
And it's painful.
It can be.
I need to talk about our sponsors right quick, but when we come back, Fabriel, I want to talk about some of the other arms of Masonry that help people, Shriners, Scottish Rite, and those. So hopefully you can enlighten us on those in just a minute. Our sponsors, White Sands Marina Inn and Suites. That's where we are. Also, Ward Thomas and Majestic Produce, Mark Fantage Media, and also Fred Rodriguez, the Texas Sportsman. And big time thanks to Jeanette Greider for stopping by. She is the president and CEO of the South Padre Island Chamber of Commerce. All right, so we're back now. Once you're a Mason, what comes after that? What can you be after you're a Master Mason?
After you become a Master Mason, and you give your return, and you complete the requirements. You gotta, and if your heart leads you to some areas, you can become a shrine. That's the most, I noticed it's the most publicized, I guess, popular Masonic branch out there. Because they tend
the Shriners.
The shrine. The shrine. They have their burn temples, burning hospitals.
But you know what?
They do a lot of things for the children.
Let me stop you there. I guarantee you 90% of the people that are hearing us right now, maybe 95%, they don't know that the Shriners Hospital for Children, it's all Masons.
Even the people that are the governors of the board as well. And the shrine, almost like it sponsors those hospitals. We help fund it, but it's associated, and then you have the Scottish Rite. They do a lot of literacy. They have a huge program, which I think we all should support, is the John London our ROTC program, which we honor high school and college cadets with a beautiful medal and ribbon, and then you have also the Knights Templars, York Red Body, and currently here, that's where to the top it's actually the Knights Templars where they're at. I know here locally with Hidalgo Commandery, we're having a valley-wide suit drive, and with those suits and coats, we actually are currently donating them to at-risk agencies that serve at-risk males, teenagers.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Salvation Army.
Well, for instance, we're donating quotes to currently, like one of the agencies we're helping out with those quotes are for the men that are graduating, the young men that are graduating from youth build in Brownsville.
I got you.
So it's geared towards them. Those young men
Perfect.
that don't have quotes, or a suit for
There
an
used to be a
interview.
charity around, I think it was called Dress for Success or something, where they would actually give you like a suit to go do an interview.
But that's what we're doing. Well, that's our take. But it's for the males.
I got you.
You know, those that have had educational difficulties of graduating at a normal, regular public school setting.
Yeah.
So they're at the alternative centers, or I know some of the coats or suits are going to go to Proyecto Juan Diego. They serve also many at-risk youth men.
Okay.
And we're going to be looking for others around the valley just to give those men, it's okay they messed up. And now it's time to
Second chance.
second, third chance, however it takes, so they can improve their lives.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll see in Facebook like they needed a father for go sit down with a kid, and like 300 of them showed up, right? So that's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
That mentality of you have all these young men out there that want to improve their life. They're going for whatever reason. They're not in an actual school district or public school setting anymore. They're at the alternative centers or those places that provide GED programs for them. They want to graduate. They want to succeed in life.
Yeah.
But they need that extra help.
Sure.
So that's what we're doing.
They need a pathway.
And that's what we're doing. Like we mentioned earlier, ordinary men doing extraordinary things.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Noe's giving me the circle to say we're about out of time. I'm going to mention the sponsors.
Hey, can we give a shout out to the main people in charge?
When we come back, I want you to do all your shout outs, and I want you to tell any listener who's listening right now who may want to be a Mason how to do it again, all right? Mm-hmm. So our sponsors, White Sands Marina Inn and Suites. That's where we are right now. Port Isabel, Texas. Make your reservations for your summer vacation at wsnandsuites.com. Ward Thomas, Majestic Studios. You have a hit record you want to record? Why not do it with us? Ward Thomas, Majestic Studios, 2037 Orchid in McAllen, Texas. Fanich Media. I'm telling you, Mark Fanich hits a home run wherever he is, whatever he's doing. Mark Fanich, Fanich Media will put you front of mind. Newspaper, internet, magazines, television, everywhere. FanichMedia.com. Also, Fred Rodriguez and the Texas Sportsman. Gotta have it. This has been the Living Large Theater Podcast. Gary Rodriguez, Billy Santiago, super producer Noe Ayala, and back now with our guest, Fabriel Cisneros, who's going to walk us out with some very important words in closing this segment of our podcast. Fabriel, thank you so much for being here. God bless you, and talk us out of here.
Gary, thank you. Noe, thank you for having me here again. We need to give a shout out to our most worshipful Grandmaster, Jim Rumsey, Grandmaster of the Grand Lodge of Texas, and also our Grand Commander, Jason Lessiker, for the Grand Commander of Texas Knights Templars. They're great leaders, and for those who have that passion to serve the community, to improve their lives, we encourage them to be brave enough. If you're wanting to be a Mason because it's in your heart, you're curious, approach those lodges in your district, in your area, in your town, your county, and don't be shy. Don't send emails. I highly recommend you call and show up and ask about Freemasonry. Who we are. We honor our past. and we build upon that legacy of the past, so others who come after us honor that legacy. We're looking to have more better men. That's our legacy. That's our legacy. And you want more information, I highly recommend just Google the Grand Lodge of Texas and online, and it'll take you to our main website. And in there, just it's very friendly, the links, and it'll direct you to your area, whatever city, county you're from around the state or country. Literally, it'll help you, direct you to where to look for a lodge near you, and you can join us.